Hello and welcome to the Too Much Time on Our Hands podcast. If you're joining us on the YouTube stream, hello, wave at them, wave. Thank you very much for joining us on the stream. If you're listening to us on the audio podcast, thank you very much indeed. That's great that you're listening. You could try watching next time. It's entirely up to you. Don't worry about it. Not gonna get passive aggressive like I usually am every time. Anyway,
just aggressive.
Yeah, just aggressive. You're joining us for today's episode, which, as you've seen all over our social media feeds, is about fictional corporations or companies, the ones that we would invest in and why. And feel free to join in on the stream, and feel free to hit us up on social media to let us know all your ideas, and we might include some of those suggestions as we're going through. I'll introduce the team. The Too Much Time on Our Hands awesome foursome. We're going to say hello to Russ.
Yeah, that's fine, thank you.
I'm going to say hello to Duncan.
Hi!
I'm going to say hello to Dan.
Hi, Tom.
Hey, Dan, how's it going? And I, of course, am Tom. I would also like to point out very, very quickly before we get going that our awesome foursome member and tech wizard, Russ, has trimmed his beard and looks like a fucking supermodel right now. I just want everyone...
So what you're really saying is that the beard that I've had for the last 6 months really didn't suit me and was awful.
I'm just saying,
that's broadly the conclusion that I came to. I just looked in the mirror and think, you look like a fucking hobo from a cartoon. Sort it out.
Yeah, no, I can't really say much, can I, Russ? Look at
me. You look trim, you look handsome. You look
can I introduce a quick point of order as well?
Yeah.
Duncan, what's that drink you've got going on?
What, this?
Yeah.
It's a white Russian.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Very nice. Bit of vodka, bit of milk. Anything else in there?
It's Kahlua.
Kahlua.
Bit of Kahlua.
You got to have three things in it to count as a cocktail, don't you?
So it's
why is this just milky vodka?
Yeah.
A white Russian is Kahlua, vodka, and cream, but we only had the full fat milk from Ockentolo.
It's Elmlea instead.
Yeah, all right. We didn't need your life story. Anyway, so we're going to go on to fictional corporations that
you asked.
I know I did. I know. I'm only playing. Look, people on the stream are going to think that we don't get on if you keep interrupting me. So yes. Anyway.
Sorry,
anyway.
Were you saying something?
No, I wasn't. Not to you. Anyway, so fictional corporations that we would invest in and why. Random light, shine your light. Who's it going to be that's going to tell me and everyone else there? Duncan, you first.
Thank you, Thomas. I have quite a list, so I am going to start off with from Ant-Man 2. I think home security is really important in these troubled times sometimes, and admittedly we're pretty well all at home. But that's when you're most vulnerable, when you're at home. So I would want ex-con home security to come out and do a proper home survey. So I would invest in there because I think that they bring a very unique and specialist inside job type survey, and I think they would bring the best. They've got the best people to properly test out your home security and install the best home security.
Yeah. I mean, they're all relatively nice guys. They all know what they're doing. They might still rob you. Like, it's not like 100%.
But they're not the best at it either.
No.
They usually get caught.
Well, I think what they've always needed is a bit of funding. It's a bit unfortunate at the end of Ant-Man and Wasp that the snap kind of happens like just as they get their big contract.
Yeah, it's a shame. But
how much seed capital would you invest, and for what sort of percentage are we talking?
You're going all Dragon's Den on it.
Whoa! Yeah. Hang on. I was just told which ones would you invest. It was never. I was never asked how much I would need to.
I mean, it's not a real commitment. You can just make up a number.
Oh right, because I've done full kind of maths and
I call bullshit on Tom. Yeah. I'm just going to say that right now.
Bullshit.
I don't know. If I had the money, they would probably get. Well, it wouldn't be a lot. What do they need?
I feel you've sent Duncan into an indecision loop here.
Yeah, you have. I would probably,
sorry about that.
like £10,000 would probably be quite nice.
It's a start, isn't it?
Investment.
Yeah, they're a company on the up, aren't they? They're they're a solid prospect.
Yeah,
Although, there is the. I mean, presumably the snap caused some stock market chaos as 50% of life ceased to exist.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. I mean, in so many different ways, I think.
But
I don't think
you know
it's good.
what the market's like. There'll be somebody who made a killing out of it.
Guaranteed. Thanos, maybe. Maybe he was.
Are you suggesting
Thanos,
the snap was investment fraud?
This is like the
Thanos,
ultimate short sell.
Ultimate hedge funder.
Yeah, he invested heavily in like Dyson leaf blowers. Like, to get rid of all the flaky bits.
He got massively overextended on GameStop before realising that this is a ridiculous bubble that is going to leave a lot of people very, very destitute when it inevitably explodes.
Okay, but we're not going to get into this. This was meant to be a fun take on all.
I know, but could you imagine? It's just like he's kind of there, just like wait, holding a hand up to Thor.
Yeah.
Hang on. So the deal's gone through.
Yeah.
All the Dyson leaf blowers. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right.
Just because everyone's going to be going out to buy the leaf blowers to get rid of Mr. and Mrs. Jenkins off their front lawn. So like,
that's the bit that amuses me is that this happens, everyone mourns for a bit, and then they're all like,
I've got to get rid of them.
I let my dustpans next door. I need to get rid of all the.
Gets right in there.
I would then invest.
So that episode of Red Dwarf where Lister's going around just dipping his finger in all these piles and eating them all. What is this stuff?
I lent my dustpan to next door, and now they are a pile of dust on my lawn. And
I would then invest in any local plant fertilizers as well, because you've got a load of top quality soil nutrients there, and
it's basically
start
like
selling it
that
as a
blood and bone
meal
fertilizer that you can buy. Just scoop people up,
Fun
put them
fact.
in bags.
Fun fact: war heroes from Waterloo were ground up and turned into bone meal fertilizer that fed the fields of Lincolnshire.
Keep it light.
Can we talk about what is the definition of a fun fact?
Yeah, we're playing quite fast and loose with the definition of fun here. Although that is, do you know what I will say? I will clarify that by saying that was an interesting fact. Actually,
It was an interesting fact.
It was.
Harrowing.
It was a
more than
grim
fun,
fact.
It was a great, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, fun, grim. I said it with a smile.
Yeah.
Somehow that makes it grimmer.
I gotta say, I think that that is a very good company to start off the episode with, because they are a bunch of happy-go-lucky guys in a startup.
They're scamps, aren't they? They're scoundrels. They've got a twinkle in the eye and a spring in the step.
And they're well connected. So, like, if you do get robbed, they'll probably know who robbed you.
And yeah, I mean, let's face it, the word of mouth is going to be excellent with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And tiny person looking after your home, always good.
Yeah.
I do like the idea if they get sort of a lot bigger and a lot more corporate, then you'll just get like big Zoom calls with 50 people on, and then you have to say, right, Luis, can you just hit us up with the minutes from the last meeting?
Nicola's said, and hello, Nicola. What?
Hello, Nicola.
Yeah.
Wave.
The viewer.
Wave.
Yeah.
Hi, Nicola.
Not sure we need as much home security now. No one can leave the house.
But that's when you need it most.
Like,
Is it?
Home invasion. Who wants that?
Yeah, but nobody's allowed. You're not allowed to go and invade people's homes at the moment. You've got to stay in your home.
That's why it's doubly necessary, because then it's doubly illegal if someone does.
but most crime happens when there's no one in the house.
Not according to Ross Tucker. He's been home invaded.
Yeah, who would home invade an ex-NFL offensive lineman? That is ridiculous.
Crazy.
His job was to stop people getting past him. Like, who would do
Aggressively.
that? Yeah,
The one thing he has admitted to is
he
that
was violent
misses,
as well.
he misses the violence.
Exactly. Yeah. Who would invade his house? He's 280 pounds, and he lost weight to get to that. Like what? Oh God! Some people, like, of all the bad luck, just like, oh yeah, I invaded ex NFL offensive lineman's house.
That's
Guess
why
I'll
I
just
keep
walk out.
that's why I keep a plank of wood next to my bed.
I distracted him by telling him it was holding. So, Adam Wolford has said, and it's a very good point, burglars aren't generally the types to follow the rules.
Well, there's just no hope for some people, is there?
No, it's unbelievable.
To be fair, neither are government communication heads.
Oh,
People that follow the rules.
Satire.
hit the satire bell. The
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
sort of 4 to 6 month old satire bell.
Absolutely. I can shit on, not that I've got news. I don't really care.
Who's next then? Who's got another company?
Random lights, shine your lights. Who's got a bit Russ?
Okay, cool.
I would go for the Sirius Cybernetics Corporation.
Glad to be of service.
Because so these are some products which aren't in our lives at the moment, but I think with the way that things like AI and facial recognition and machine learning and natural language algorithms for virtual assistants, we're basically going this way, where you will have, imagine the most nauseating, annoying customer service representative, except that now lives in every device in your house, and it would drive everyone slowly insane.
Isn't that pretty much what we've already got?
I don't know. It's far worse than that. Far worse. So you have, I mean, some of the products that get explored in the Hitchhiker's books are the sort of the drinks machine, where you can't actually just choose what you want. It analyzes your taste buds, your DNA. It maps your brain, and it takes a few sort of chemical readings, and it comes up with a drink that it thinks is exactly what you want and need right there, optimally balanced with the correct nutrition and flavour for your mood and your current, biorhythm. But what you actually get is a drink which tastes almost but not entirely unlike tea. No matter what you do. You have doors, like automatic doors, that won't open for you unless you engage them in sort of cheery conversation for a good few minutes, which if you're just walking around a building and need to go through maybe 10 doors to get to where you're going, that would start to grind quite quickly.
Yeah.
And,
The doors are more intelligent, are smarter than you are.
Yep. And the lifts that get given, I think we've talked about them before, the lifts that have such a high degree of artificial intelligence that they get incredibly bored with their frustrating life of just taking people up and down. And they try and do other things, but they can't, so they just sit and sulk in the bottom of the at the bottom of the basement. And now there's people who make money by going around being consultants for depressed lifts to try and get them to go up and down again. But no matter how annoying these things are, this company seems to do incredibly well. Its offices cover the major landmasses of an entire planet.
But didn't the Encyclopedia Galactica define the board of the Sirius Cybernetics Corporation as a bunch of useless? What was it? A bunch of useless something who would be first against the wall when the revolution came.
Yeah, and then there was a copy of the Hitchhiker's Guide that fell through a wormhole from the future, and it described them as a bunch of useless tossers who were the first against the wall when the revolution came.
But there's also a Nutramatic cup machine, isn't there? There's a Nutramatic drinks machine that was made by Sirius Cybernetics Corporation that Arthur asks for a cup of tea, and it basically crashes the entire heart. It's the heart of gold. It crashes completely.
Oh yeah, he lectures it. He stops it in its tracks, and he sort of lectures it about tea for several hours. Talks about like the history of the tea producing countries, shows it diagrams and books about tea, and it gets so engaged in this problem that it locks up all the computing power of the whole ship just as they're about to get attacked or something, isn't it? And everything crashes.
And thinks about it and to develop the best cup of tea.
Mm-hmm. Which it does pull off in the end after they survive.
The other thing is that they did produce Marvin, the paranoid android.
Yeah, he's one of the genuine people personality droids were one of their products, weren't they?
He's a prototype, isn't he? Genuine a prototype of the GPP program.
But it's the same problem of being so insanely intelligent and yet having to take orders from these simpering idiots that boss it around on the ship.
And he ends up older than the universe.
Yeah, he has a
time travel.
He basically outlives the entire universe several times over, doesn't he? So that's a solid product, you know.
Yeah.
The diodes down his left-hand side don't get replaced over that entire time, no matter how much pain they're causing him.
Okay.
So yeah, might make incredibly annoying stuff, but that is a company that has a bright future, I think.
That's money, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to lose money if you invest in them. Solid returns.
Yeah, definitely.
That's true.
Yeah. Stable stock. That's the
stable.
Yeah, it's your classic
stock,
blue chip, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely.
Absolutely. Okay, so random light, shine your light on Dan.
So I've got some money tied up in like a failing 90s tech company that I'm going to pull out. The company's called Initech. And I'm going to go, they've just laid off a few people, and I'm just going to go with someone that had a very interesting idea that I thought had legs. Now, particularly at the moment with everyone in lockdown, everyone's playing board games. Everyone's after like the next kind of like evolution of board games. Well, what I'm going to invest in is a mat that you put on the floor. It's got a number of conclusions, and then you have to jump to the conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take my money out of Initech and invest it in this guy. I can't remember the guy's name now.
It's Tom, isn't it? Tom something.
Tom, I've got it. Oh, damn it, I had it written here. Well, yeah. The guy gets his legs broken in. It's
the worst idea I've ever heard.
Yes, that's truly awful.
Yeah. It's the worst idea I've ever heard, Tom.
So I think I've got faith in him. I'm going to help him build his jump to conclusions back. Now, some of the conclusions you might be asking.
I was about to ask you.
This is one of my favourite things.
This is the worst Dragon's Den episode ever. So tell me, what are some of the conclusions that you think we should be jumping?
So I'm going to go left to right, back to front, I suppose, or nearest to furthest.
It kind of really doesn't matter, does it? We can't see it.
So one step back, think again, moot! Exclamation mark. No! Exclamation mark. Accept it. Then next is go wild. Could be. Lose one turn. Yes! Strike out. Jump again. Add exclamation marks. Now, I haven't quite deciphered what each of the conclusions actually mean, but I'm sure this is a solid investment here.
Okay. And what sort of questions would you pose the jump to conclusions, Matt?
How big's the map for starters?
Well, I mean, it's going to have to be fairly big, isn't it, to jump across?
To jump
effectively to. It's basically the size of a hopscotch pitch, isn't it?
It is.
Whatever a regulation hopscotch court is.
That's a good idea too. Maybe I should invest in that.
I think that's probably out of copyright now.
I don't think you should be let to have money.
Yeah, you also you also definitely shouldn't be allowed to stand in a children's playground demanding 50p every time one of the kids wants to use the hopscotch bit.
Yeah.
No, I definitely shouldn't. To be fair,
Did you read the EULA when you came in that door? Well, it's not my fault if you didn't scroll through the whole thing.
Wait,
that will be £2.
Are you filming this? No streaming. You can't stream this.
It's also generally advised on not to just go around filming in children's playgrounds.
So whether you have the
patterns
or not.
But anyway, yeah. So I've got this spare cash just kicking around in Initech, failing company, and whilst I was visiting Initech, one of them had this great idea, so I'm going to go with it.
Awesome.
Fair dues. Also, a moment on Initech. I was reading some of the articles that we usually read to prep for these kind of things. I mean, their description of Initech was brilliant. Where was it? It was like, here we go. Initech wasn't bent on world domination or the complete destruction of humanity. The evil here was much more subtle, realistic, and soul-crushing. And that is every fucking corporation I've ever worked for.
That's amazing. I love it.
But yeah, I think that's a good investment, Dan. I think when you're on your yacht, the jump to conclusion, the saucy conclusion, or whatever you want to call that.
That will be the yacht's going to be called the Conclusion.
The conclusion.
Yeah.
But you don't jump to it. You get a chopper to it, don't you?
You just get a chopper to it, or just walk.
You just got to jump the last little bit.
Yeah, maybe. Depends. Yeah. So yeah, me and Tom are gonna. Not Tom. That Tom. I don't know. I'll give up.
Not me. Not me. The other. Yeah.
The other Tom. Yeah.
Yeah. The other guy.
The other future millionaire. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Or yours, Tom. This Tom. This time. Actually, you. I mean,
The light shines upon thee.
Oh, yes. Random light shine on me. So I'm going to very quickly change my background to illustrate my choice. That is, of course.
What could go wrong?
Is that coming through on the stream?
It is.
So, of course, it's the Wayland-Yutani Corporation. Okay, so look, back in the 20th century, the Wayland Corporation was set up, made massive advances in synthetic AI, as well as pharmaceuticals and everything else that they were doing. Colonization, space travel, that kind of stuff. And over the centuries of their business, their cybernetics is improving to the point where synthetics are practically indistinguishable from humans. They can terraform entire planets. This is amazing. Like, they make all the military hardware. They practically own the military. This is a company with some really safe investments, some really safe plans to further the progress and situation of humanity. Just don't talk to them about their bioweapons division that seems hell-bent on getting a parasite that basically lays an egg in your chest, eats its way out, and is capable of basically decimating populations. Oh yeah, well, don't worry about that bit. Focus on the atmosphere processors, which are absolutely fantastic, and also make a fantastic place for those aliens to make a hive. Filled with all the bodies of your loved ones. But don't worry about your loved ones, because they'll be fine on a nice new planet, which will be lovely.
How do you think we should decorate the atmosphere processor? Oh, you know what? Just make it look as much like these aliens as you possibly can. Just there's lots of little nice bits for them to hide in. Don't ask why.
Make it look a bit like the inside of a whale.
Yeah.
Like with bones and weird things and protrusions all over the wall.
It's just the most effective mechanical way of doing it. And then obviously no lights and steam everywhere.
Steam everywhere. Really loud noises as well, if possible.
Yeah.
And almost bottomless pits.
Yes, yeah.
And that low lighting effect, and make sure there's lots of shadow.
Yeah.
And so it glistens. Make sure it's like glistening.
Yeah, everything should be moist. I want it moist in there.
I want everything to be just a little
Really
bit too
humid.
uncomfortably hot.
Can everything look slightly like a cock as well?
Yes, I like it. Yes,
We've
it's
got
good.
just the guy.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a bit of a cop out talking about the Wayland-Yutani Corporation, because they are so like the archetype of a evil corporation that doesn't care about its employees or its impact on the world as long as it can turn a profit. And all of the examples of anyone who works for that company that have ever been shown are the epitome of corporate greed and horrible evil machinations. But they are an easy one. so I picked them straight away because, to be fair, the amount of technology that they sit on is immense. Like, you could forgive a few murdering aliens and calling crew members expendable and stuff like that, considering the profit margin that they must be turning over.
Although, what exactly was there in so they get an alien? What were they intending to do with it? Market it as a pet or something?
Turn it into a bioweapon. It's like, I know, it's like such a ground floor idea, isn't it? It's just like, turn it into a bioweapon. Well, how are we going to do that? I'll leave that to the eggheads.
Just like the next day at the office. It's like, well, Jenkins, here we are. We've got this thing. It ate 4 security guards on the way in. Now, what are you... Wow, I was just going to sort of brainstorm it here from here on in, Sarah. Maybe this wasn't worth 20 lives and blowing up that ship.
No, and even Burke, like in Aliens, is just like, look, now those are worth millions to the bioweapons division, as if he fucking knows. I mean, like, what are they? Why is it worth millions to them? Like, honestly, what are they going to do? They're going to go, thank you, Burke, for these 2 impregnated people that we have absolutely no idea of how to contain what's inside them, that might explode at any moment.
It's like someone handing you a
million
Rolex in a sick bag, isn't it? Like, oh, great, yeah, that's. Thank you.
What the fuck is this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Their workplace health and safety teams must have an absolute nightmare. Like, dear colleagues, just another note to gently remind everybody, please make sure that your violent extraterrestrial specimens are safely contained. We've had a number of incidents again. I won't point any fingers, but if we can please just make sure there's no more mishaps. We are running out of receptionists.
Do not suck off the aliens.
The
That went out of left field.
how they get it through the ethics committee is also quite interesting.
Well, that's private sector, isn't it? You don't need to worry so much about that sort of thing.
Here's the thing, Tom.
Still do actually. Pharmaceuticals and stuff still have to go through ethics, especially if there's human trials.
Well, I don't think one in New Times doesn't really do
Human
any.
trials are kind of.
What do they do? I mean, they're like terraforming, aren't they? That's their main thing, Weyland-Yutani.
Yeah,
I think they've got lots of fingers and lots of pies.
Building better worlds is the tagline. By the time 50 years after the Nostromo incident, they're very much a colony.
Human trials aren't exactly voluntary, though, are they? Like,
well, not in this case.
No.
It's more locked in a room with an egg kind of situation.
Yeah.
Wasn't the Nostromo a mining ship though?
It was an oil refinery. It was a tugboat. It was a tugboat.
Yeah, the Nostromo was just a tug, and it was attached to this gigantic refinery thing.
Give you a tug.
Here's the thing, Tom. Out of all this, all I heard was turning a profit. That's the important thing.
And that's all you need to focus on, my darling.
That's the mindset you need.
Exactly.
That's it. There we go. Don't worry about it. Turn a blind eye to everything else and just, feather that nest. That's it, mate.
A couple of comments. Kisto, which is Jack, says, isn't Seegson the safer bet, Tom? Less of a financial risk.
Oh, I don't know. Their Apollo and Working Joe program, not so good. The Working Joes look like mannequins. Plus, they made a big gamble, on deep orbital stations. Weyland-Yutani
We've all done that.
Colonies. It's made quite apparent during alien isolation that Seegson very, very much the unsafe pair of hands.
Dan says, why did they use humans as the host for the aliens and not more disposable beings like cattle?
I mean, it would have made for a less dramatic film.
Oh no, but I'd watch it.
Yeah. Were they in? I mean, they weren't. Did they put the colony on LV-426 or whatever it was specifically to try and get some aliens?
So
is that the implication?
The backstory is that after the Nostromo incident, the embarrassment and loss of the ship was so public that they decided not to pursue the species anymore, and actually it kind of got lost in a bit of corporate bureaucracy. And based on Ripley's testimony, because this colony had been set up in the meantime, because Acheron was was LV-426 and was being sort of terraformed, Burke heard her testimony and was just like, well, fuck it. Like he found out, must have dug up some records, found out that there was interest in this planet at some point, and then just kind of, well, look, these are the coordinates she gave for that ship, so go and check it out. But if she's talking bullshit, then we don't lose anything. But if she's fucking telling the truth.
Oh yeah, so they didn't deliberately seed a colony there in the efforts, but they did send them to that ship, didn't they? The crashed ship.
Don't you hate it when you accidentally seed a colony?
I mean, it is awful. I mean, also Burke as well. Like, kind of, I love the way he, like, in total corporate way. Like, when a corporate person makes a mistake, they just go, "Look, it was a bad call. Okay, it was just a bad call. I lost 20
Mistakes
million,
were made."
Yeah, and it's like, no, you killed 250 colonists. Like, I admit, it was a bad decision. I made a bad decision. Hold my hands up to it. Like.
But then on the positive side, they've all got those awesome suits with the collars that flip up.
That's right. And business cards that you use to call them on, actually physically putting it into a card slot, which of course, absolutely
that's a great idea. Well, that's one of those things that's like super futury and also super retro at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine the size of the roller deck you're going to need for all of those bits of cards?
I went through a phase that, like, there was a while, like in the sort of mid 2000s, where people kept giving me these business cards which were little mini CDs. So you put it in your computer. So it was a rectangular thing with like a little bit of CD-ness in the middle, but you could put it in your CD-ROM drive and it would load their contact details into your email program. And now that just seems so fucking stupid.
I don't know. Maybe bring it back. So we've got a few more comments as well. Dan says, why do they use humans to host one disposable beings like cattle? Nicola then says maybe humans are as disposable to them as cattle, but Dan also says maybe start with animal testing.
Good point. It's a bit too deep for us.
Maybe start with animal testing first, then move on to humans. Lots less
They think they
legalish.
wanted something that would focus on humans. We do discover that it will move on to dogs and anything.
Yeah, also, as we see in Alien 3, it sort of takes on the characteristics of what it gestates in. So you don't want a weaponized cow, do you?
They want it to
I do now.
they want it to be probably, because if it's a weapon, it's going to be used against humans. So they want it specifically tuned towards humans.
Yeah, but
so
Duncan,
that it takes out.
You're a scientist. Surely you test on animals before you just go humans.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Generally, that would be part of the trial process, but we've discovered that they don't really have an ethics committee. So
I genuinely believe it's literally just a case of they find this planet, they find the distress signal, they decode it, they realise that it's actually a warning talking about some ridiculous organism that will kill anything anywhere, and they just go, right, what's the easiest and cheapest thing to do? Yeah. There's a ship out there already. If everything goes tits up, it's basically plausible deniability. They're basically just doing the contracted work, which is to investigate a transmission of possibly intelligent origin. And if it works, it works, and they come back and they're all in their freezers. If not, fuck it. Like, it's the cheapest thing to do.
One last comment so far. Jack also says, plus the Nostromo wasn't owned by Weyland-Yutani.
Yes, it was. It was a Weyland-Yutani vessel.
I don't know.
It was the company. It was, yeah.
They weren't called Weyland-Yutani in the first one, were they? But I think they were referred to as like the company.
Tesco.
Yeah, Tesco. Yeah, Ocado. Basically what Ocado.
Right.
But yes, we're sorry. Been wanking on about Weyland-Yutani for ages. Random light, Duncan.
So I'm going into the nutraceutical branch. There's in San Andreas. There's a new, they're really small. I think it's maybe a 2 or 3 man operation. They have acquired in quite. You could say it's an aggressive takeover of various local, small, other pharmaceutical companies. I'm talking about Trevor Phillips Industries, obviously.
So yeah, you're talking about
pharmaceuticals
and gun running.
Yeah,
gun running pharmaceuticals. Like, it's not just meth; it is also THC and whatever else that they can come up with. They also provide counter darknet kind of black ops counter security. So they will deal with your black ops kind of military operatives as well.
That is a problem that I have all the time. Actually, is
everyone does.
Off-books, private security organisations just harass me left, right, and centre.
I just can't keep it organised.
No,
I would probably just invest about 10 grand. I mean, they're just up and coming. They deal with competition brilliantly, and then they've done some brilliant manoeuvres and takeovers, and they are now the largest and possibly sole operator in what's it called? Smeg. That town.
Los Santos.
I don't think it's called that.
Los Santos. But anyway, so yeah, I think I would invest in Trevor Phillips Industries, because if I don't, I'd probably just take the money anyway.
So would you have to invest, just like cuddly toys?
I think I'll just give them money and then hope for some money back.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't really know how one would actually go about investing. I don't think they're publicly traded anywhere, are they?
I think.
Well, I would try and encourage them to go on the Borsak stock market.
That's such good knowledge, man.
I love it. But I would hope my investment, because I believe they've also gone into, shall we say, adult entertainment as well. Head office is a strip club, so I would probably hope that my £10,000 would also get me premium membership to.
Yeah, it would get them a ton of spunk-covered cuddly toys as well.
I've remembered
would.
what the name of the cuddly is. Mr. Raspberry Jam, isn't it? That's the name of the...
Jam.
It
It's
gets
so
steadily
great.
more and more violated as that bit goes on.
Yeah, that
up and coming
and
pups.
Juggalo paint. Yeah, so yeah.
Juggalo. Yes.
Oh, that's what they'd spend the money on, I reckon. And meth.
And meth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just need a better lab, really.
Yeah.
Isn't that like the trap though? As soon as you start investing in meth, that aren't you always just going to need a better lab, no matter how good your lab is?
Probably. But I know that they would be working on other drugs, and certainly would be well up into doing the legalized marijuana and THC and vapes.
Who's the legalized? Who's the guy that you constantly run into?
Yeah, I know.
That is
Barry.
like the super weed.
Oh, well, the guy in the
It's Barry.
suit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Barry, I think. Isn't
Yeah.
his name Barry?
Yeah, something like that.
The only one that isn't influenced by it is it's Franklin.
Hmm.
I love that. It's like, what is this?
It's
alright.
just some
I
dry
don't see the
whatever.
aliens or anything. Like, no.
I mean, the thing is, Trevor Phillips as a CEO, you can trust him to any time there is anything approaching competition. He's pretty good at steering off. He's
Hostile
very good at
takeovers.
hostile takeovers, cornering the market. Dispatching the competition with lead iron
Brutal efficiency.
Brutal efficiency, yeah, absolutely.
But he's also, he looks towards international trade. I mean, he's got a good transport hub and network.
Yeah, absolutely.
Air
Air
freight,
freight.
air freight, exactly.
Yeah, exactly,
Boats. Well, whatever you need, he'll certainly. And also, as long as you don't annoy him, he will have your back.
Mm.
But apparently,
Slight problem though.
What? It's easy
Very
to annoy
easy to annoy.
him?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably one of the more psychopathic,
Yeah.
sociopathic, with zero empathy kind of CEOs.
They
I think.
do say though. I mean, the best heads of corporations are sociopaths and psychopaths. Have
He's
a
also-
kind of opinion.
Mhm.
He
'Cause
is
they can make the
actually
decisions
also the
no one
most
else can.
intelligent out of all of them.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
He's definitely a bit. I mean, it says a lot about that game and the people in it that you actually look at Trevor and you think he's probably the one who's actually his moral compass is pointing in the right direction.
Equally.
Well, yeah. I mean, he does. Some of his solo bits of philosophy are like, okay, so you know exactly that what you're doing is wrong, but that doesn't really matter. You're just like,
Well,
Yeah.
he's there to sort of address the dissonance between the plot elements of those games and what people actually do when they're driving round.
yeah.
Whereas, you would in previous ones, you would sort of go to pick up your friend to go bowling or something, and on the way there, you would run over 30 people. And you would get to the bowling and be like, "Hey, cousin, let's go bowling," like nothing had happened. It's very hard to have story stuff in a free world game where you can just go and do whatever the hell depraved thing you want. And so Trevor Phillips is there to basically be he's the real player, isn't he? He's how people actually act in those worlds.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
Few more comments. Dan says maybe the Nostromo was a rental. Jack then says it was
It could have been
waiting
a lease.
until the merger. Sure. Jamie says the alien is a endoparasitoid. Parasitoid, yep. Which is a long word.
Duncan, can we get some confirmation on that?
well, yeah, it's an endoparasite. Its larval stage is a endoparasite site. So yeah.
Confirmed.
Cool. And Nicola says,
Confirmed.
because when I think about guns and drugs, I of course immediately think of Duncan. True.
Absolutely.
Free guns and drugs.
Yeah, it's got most of the west coast of Scotland market sewn up.
Yeah, definitely love it. It's
It's lovely. You ain't seen me,
A
right?
well-known weed merchant.
right. Who's
Oh,
next?
random light show. Who was Russ, wasn't it?
Is it me?
Yeah.
I would go for the Grand Trunk Company of Ankh-Morpork,
Yeah.
which
Hey.
is sort of almost it's kind of like single-handedly powering the industrial revolution of that entire world. Really, it's what's driving all that stuff to happen, and is also just quite an interesting place to work as well. I think. I know we weren't talking about where you'd work, but I think I'd also quite like to work
You're
there.
gonna get a job there as well.
Yeah, once all the stuff in making money is dealt with, and all the not making money. Which one am I thinking of? Going postal is dealt with, and all the shady characters are got rid of. It'd be it'd be quite interesting. So it's basically like inventing the internet, isn't it? For this sort of weird medieval pre-industrial revolution hybrid time period world with magic and monsters.
Well, I mean, you would join the Silent New, and you'd automatically make it seriously cooler.
They're a bit weird.
Smoking New.
That's very much what they're the conspiracy theory podcast hosts of that world, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah, I like that. How much do you think? I mean, you would need the hired security as well. So, how much would you be willing to put in? I mean, inventing the internet.
It's an utterly meaningless question. At 7.
Wow, that's quite a lot.
7, hey?
So they're doing some, they're doing incredible. They're linking up all the cities across the continent. I don't think you can't send a Klax like intercontinentally, can you? I think it still has to get carried by a boat or a messenger bird or something. If you want to get a message to like 4X or the counterweight continent or something, it does have to. It does take longer. But you can get a message to Juno in 3 days. I mean, that's amazing.
And you can get it to the Ram Tops now. They've got a Klax tower.
Yeah. So, it's linked together. This whole world, and you can do it like there's people have set up businesses on it. It's basically the internet, but powered by semaphore towers and gargoyles.
How does video streaming work?
Video streaming you can't do, but they do have some very impressive compression algorithms that they go into at some point, and there's ideas for using like different coloured filters on the lamps to compress even more data into the stream, the overhead. So yeah, some quite interesting ideas.
They're working on stabilizing more different types of imp as well.
Yeah, but I think honestly the best thing about it is that it's take away some of the more ridiculous flights of fancy. It's basically real. These things did exist, like networks of semaphore towers that sent messages around. They didn't have gargoyles powering them and clockwork message streams and things like that, but they were basically as described in the books. Quite cool.
So you're not really looking for a profit on this. You're looking more to be one of those people in the history books that's like.
I think I'd want to be like a hands-on investor in there at the start when it was just sort of a few people experimenting. Make a contribution and also absolutely coin it as it takes off and revolutionises the world. That's important. That last bit, I do want that to happen, but I would also work there.
Must absolutely coin.
Want to make money and take credit for it.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie says, I wouldn't want to live in Ankh-Morpork.
All right, you can take that tone out of your voice just 'cause you haven't read the fucking books.
Haven't
well,
read
no, I mean, who would?
No, that's a good point.
Although, I mean, it does actually sound like quite a nice place, but when you get further into the books, it sounds quite gentrified, doesn't it?
By raising steam, it is a better place to live than in Colour of Magic.
Yeah, definitely.
Although you can still walk across the Morpork, can't you? You can still literally walk on the surface of the Morpork.
Yeah, I don't think it's particularly nice, but yeah, I think by like later on in the series, when the Watch has been sort of formalised and Ridcully's in as Arch Chancellor, it's sort of settled down a bit and started to really.
It's apparently described as the corrupt mercantile of the Discworld. Is that right? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically London, isn't it? Ankh-Morpork. It's I mean, it even looks like it if you look at the maps.
It's London, but with the same kind of name structure as Budapest. And I love the Thieves Guild. I just like the guild. It's just brilliant. You pay a little. It's just a protection racket, but it's cut crime. No.
Well, it's just insurance, isn't it? But cutting out the middleman. So you just directly pay thieves not to steal from you, and then everyone's happy.
I like the I like the Assassin's Guild, who seem more concerned with how they look than anything else.
So stylish.
It's so
It's how you do
stylish.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I think they do. Like by a bit later on, that like lots of children get sent to school at the Assassin's Guild, and they don't do any of the stabbing people. They just go there for the education and because it's like going to Eton, isn't it? Going to the Assassin's Guild.
Yeah, and I like that some of the most famous assassins have never even killed anyone.
I also like the fact that the most depressing place to go is the clown college.
Yeah.
It's like miserable. It's the worst one. You must learn humour. Could I jump in with, if we're staying with Ankh-Morpork, because there is another business.
Please do. I can't wait.
Oh, hang on. Right, give Dan 10 minutes to wank on about the Expanse, and then we'll get on with it.
Fuck if I'd need more than 10 minutes. I could. Yeah.
Keep it top line.
My name is CMOT Dibbler, and I could put incorporated because I would invest in this artisanal street merchant, seller of unique food products, who seems to resist. It is one of the most foundation businesses of Ankh-Morpork, that it's a sausage in name only, but it's a sausage in a bun, trademark, and it is one of the most secure businesses in Ankh-Morpork because he's been around forever and has not gone out of business, and I would invest and get him a better stand.
Yeah, he does always bounce back, doesn't he? Lots of like busted ventures and things. And then he also seems to be sort of weirdly multinational as well, because there's sort of clones of him in every other city in the world.
Yeah.
Yes, there's cutting my own throat Gibbler, isn't there? There's like
Dibbler.
Dibbler, and yeah.
And everyone wants a sausage in a bun, unless you're a dwarf, and then you want a rat in a bun.
Yeah, very nice.
I would always go with. I would invest in CMOT.
I quite like the fact that you just want to get him a better cart. I think that's quite nice, actually. That's all he wants. You just want to get him a better cart. I think that's quite heartwarming, actually. That's a nice investment story, that is.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to change any of where he gets his meats from, because that is his unique selling. His USP is the sausage in a bun.
Yeah.
And you will always remember if you've had a sausage in a bun. Well, if you survive it.
If you survive it, yeah. Oh, very nice.
But that's a quick, just because to save us going back to Discworld, because otherwise we'll just lose Dan again.
Fair play, I love it.
Again.
Podcast efficiency, absolutely love it. So, random light, shine your light. It's Dan's turn.
I'm gonna try and get myself on the board of a fast food company that has just lost their entire board due to divine intervention. I'm going to try and take over Movies.
Movies.
I'm going to try and take over the movie empire and start setting up my own fast food company. But try and not piss off angels in the process as well.
Well, if you are going to raise a false idol, then yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got plans. Like, obviously, the whole internet cafe aspect of it is important, because otherwise we don't get one of my favourite stupid films ever. So that needs to happen. Obviously, larger milkshakes so they can just fill the cup whenever they want. And just in general, setting up in as many different locations. I don't know, New Jersey maybe. Just so a couple of stoners have got somewhere to hang out outside of when the quick stop burns down. Quick stop? It's the quick stop, isn't it? Yeah.
It is the quick stop, yeah.
I thought I was getting confused with Simpsons then, but yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Movies. I'm going to take over Movies because the last time I checked, they didn't have a board because they all died. But they're still there, so,
They didn't die so much as they were murdered. But I do like that. That's a nose for business there. You spotted an opportunity, spotted a gap at the corporate table, and slid in there.
Yep, definitely. I think they're good for 3-4 movies, maybe. I don't know. So yeah,
I also think it would be. I can see opportunities to really link up with top-notch comics of the day.
Yeah.
Popular movies such as, well, Bluntman and Chronic. Would be
exactly.
Really good.
Yeah.
It's a hot property.
Well-
Holden McNeil and Banky Edwards. I mean, Banky Edwards? Is it Banky Edwards? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a hot property.
Is it Holden McNeely?
Holden McNeil.
Holden McNeil. Yeah. There's someone on Roundtable of Gentlemen whose name is yeah. Yeah, so it was between that and the Secret Stash, basically. But it was only because I wanted to own the Secret Stash, because that's
Who
awesome.
doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Look at this morose motherfucker right here. Looks like someone's shitting his cereal. Bomb.
It might be time. Someone I know said they rewatched Jay and Silent Bob Reboot several times now, and they reckon it gets funnier every time they watch it. And I'm like, no, I want to watch it. Might be time to rewatch Reboot.
Yeah,
Strikes Back.
I need to watch it.
I've got it. I'll tell you what. When I come over for those parties that we have, where we just breathe in each other's mouths, shall I bring it? Yeah.
Just with a
Maybe
straw.
that's where we all went wrong.
Oh, were we not meant to do that?
That big fad that swept the world into
I mean, I
late
washed my
2019.
hands. Okay, yeah, maybe.
I mean,
not.
I ingested antibacterial solutions just like
Yes.
Donald said we should.
Exactly. Yeah, and we did it in sunlight. So yeah,
I didn't feel great,
no,
but
I did a funny.
yeah, I did a funny.
Yeah.
It was quite caustic, wasn't it?
yeah, movies. Anyway, that's what I'm buying. Back to you, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
So I've only got one more because they are a bit of an easy one, but it's actually my namesake for today, which of course I'm going to put that logo behind me because I think it's one of the better logos for a corporation, a fictional corporation. Of course, it's the Tyrell Corporation from the Blade Runner film, and the reason I would invest in them is because, well, replicant technology, basically, almost, it's basically bioengineering, isn't it? It's creating basically humans out of components and organic parts and bits and bobs.
Mm-hmm.
But they are such an accepted and in control corporation of the society that they exist in, that the police force, instead of trying to shut them down because replicants keep escaping, they're like, well, we'll just make a unit called Blade Runners, specifically just in case this happens. Like we'll just catch the replicants and stuff, but don't worry about it, it'll be absolutely fine. They're making combat models, they're making pleasure models, they've got basically all these practically indistinguishable people that you can't work out whether they're a human or replicant unless you sit down and ask them questions for what feels like days and days and days, like using Voight Kampf machines. And of course, who's not going to want android servants and slaves and all that kind of stuff? I mean, it's amazing stuff,
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, morally there's problems, but
there's a few
once again,
issues.
yeah. Once again, there's some wedge in that, definitely.
But if you need a transplant or something like that, and you need a new eye or a new arm or something like that, then Tyrell Corporation's bits and bobs that they can make,
Is that the
all
full name of the
good.
company?
Yep.
Tyrell Corporation's Bits and
Bits
Bobs.
and bobs. Yeah, perfect. And the odd owl.
The odd owl.
Symbolic owl.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean they're amazing, and also their headquarters look awesome. Like it's one of the all-time great imposing bits of fictional architecture.
It really is.
What a great head office! Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you look at it and go, "Oh, they look evil."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That big pyramid looks really evil.
They're the bad guys, aren't they?
Yeah. Are they the baddies? Yeah.
Are we the bad guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that though. Yeah, definitely.
But I think if you invested in them and if you were there at the beginning, then the amount of money you would have made would be absolutely gigantic. Again, like Wayland Yutani, you just have to have a certain moral flexibility that, allows you to kind of turn a blind eye to some of the more heinous corporate actions that company takes.
Yeah.
And that is the end of my go.
Okay, Boris. Has anyone got any more? Because I've got a few more.
Yeah, I've got a few more.
How long have we been thwanging on for? Oh,
We're
coming up
about
to an
an
hour.
hour.
Coming up to an hour. We could do a few quick hits
Few quickies.
as Tom takes a quick hit.
Dan, go on. You haven't.
Okay, so shall I-
Phillips, was it Trevor
Shall I just
Phillips
rattle through
Industries
some then?
Mess.
So I'm gonna. There's two companies I'm looking at taking over at the same time, and I'm basically trying to corner the basic needs market in the future. Those two companies are Purr and Clean, the water delivery company that picks up the ice from Saturn's rings from the Expanse. That's for you, Tom, and and Blue Sun as well. They deal with basic provisions in the Firefly universe as well. So I'm cornering packaged meals for poor people and water for poor people, and I reckon I can make a fair amount of money off all of that.
I've
Nice.
in the Expanse universe, I've heard of a like a security ship. It's like an old Martian gunship, and they've gone private. And I think if you put money in, because they'll always need it for supplies, and but they they've saved the solar system, they've saved Earth. So I would probably put money into the Rocinante, because they go private. Well, in the books they've become a business. So
Protogen are making some leaps and bounds in the Expanse universe as well.
Protogen.
Maybe they're the way to go. But Jules Pierre Mao seems to have that one kind of sorted. So maybe not.
Yeah. I would also invest in Planet Express.
That was one of mine. Yes, I love it.
Again, probably 10. I actually also had another, ammunition from GTA. There seems to be a steady market and demand there.
Yeah.
Got to be. And for Harry Potter fans,
Actually, ammunition's not in the last one, is it? They're not. The gun shops
it's
aren't
in
called
gun-
ammunition.
It's in 5.
They're not called. Are they called ammunition still?
Yeah, they're called ammunition.
I don't think they are. They're just called gun shops.
No, they're called ammunition.
We'll work this one out afterwards, eh?
Yeah.
This is the most important thing in the
argue
world.
about I would. This is a new startup wizardry prank company called Weasley's Weasley's Wizardry Weezers. I would invest in that. It's 2 young guys. I think jokes never go out, and they've got some really good innovation in jokes. So in a very serious and dark times, everyone needs a smile, and I think they definitely provide it. And
Could just laugh at the
Dan
gingers.
should like them because they're gingers.
I was about to say we could just laugh at them because they're ginger. So that'll do. So a couple of comments. Dan says, "Isn't Blue Suns the mercenary firm in Mass Effect?" I believe it is.
They're,
It is, isn't it?
They're
Yeah.
a group, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, but they're also they supply basic food rations to the verse in Firefly as well.
The
And
Odie
Jack
bar?
says, surely the biggest problem there is that targeting your product to poor people doesn't make much money. I beg to differ. There is a lot of money in water and basic rations when people are very, very
Oh
hungry.
yeah, definitely.
So yeah. So yes, I will be making money off people that can't afford the money to pay me, basically, which is the dream.
That's fine, isn't it? Yeah. You can
Yeah,
do
I mean,
that.
exactly.
that's pretty much 101
Yep.
corporate practice there.
Mhm.
Pretty much.
I've got a couple more, and then they've got a couple from people that are watching and listening as well.
Yeah. Come on then.
Hit
Yeah.
me.
I'm going to go with, this is for Critical Role fans, I'm going to invest in the Invulnerable Vagrant as well.
Hey.
Pumat Sol is a master at his craft, and I think they've just taken on a big military contract, so as a result I think I'm going to see a fairly hefty return. I guess what I will probably have to do is supply magic items to them, to supply the Cerberus Assembly / Empire. So yeah.
But, I mean, they could just do with the gold to buy the magic items.
There you go. That's true as well, yeah. But I think I'd get the money back from the military contract they've got in Zadash. Voight's International as well. Once again, massive military contract there. I reckon there's a lot of money there. I don't really want to know the gory details of it. I just kind of want to know that I'm turning a profit from these superheroes that surely are nothing wrong with.
The boys.
Yeah.
Sorry, Voight. I was like, fuck, what is Voight? What is Voight?
John
Yeah.
Voight.
Yeah, John Voight.
What's he up to?
That's Angelina Jolie's. Yeah, Dad. Christ. Yeah.
One last one, and this is kind of from Dan as well. Acme Corporation. But what I want to do is I want to take it online. Let's get Wile E. Coyote a smartphone, and he can have that stuff by the end of the day.
I mean, he basically invented Amazon Prime, didn't he? He was never hanging around that long waiting for his crates to arrive.
No, but if he can get them just a little bit earlier, maybe...
You get that Roadrunner.
Maybe you'll get that Roadrunner, yeah. Like, maybe all it'll take is just a little bit longer hanging off the edge of the cliff, and then the rest of the world won't fall down rather than the end of the cliff.
I have one more. Well, actually, no, I've actually massive list, but Chom, CHOAM, from the Dune series. I would have to have quite a bit of money to be able to invest in this.
Well, they basically run a third of the galaxy, don't they?
Yeah, and
That's
they
quite good,
are.
actually, isn't it?
Yeah, they kind of are a legal drug company because of really where they make their money from is something called melange, or commonly known as spice, and it stands for Combine Honnête Honnête Ove Advanced Mercantiles.
Noun and gremlin.
Noun and gremlin. Yeah, and they are the largest form of wealth in medieval space fantasy. That is Dune. So, nothing to worry about melange. It's only highly addictive, and if you come off it, you'll die. But nothing problematic about it. It also causes a minor ability to just temporarily see into the future or possible timelines. It also has something to do with giant worms. I do have a bit of a worry about some of the houses that are members of Chom, that they might try and usurp the Empire ship. So hopefully, one of the families can sort of try and deal with it.
So what we'll do is we'll just put that in the disclaimer at the end of the advert. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah, just say exactly what you just said, but in a very fast voice.
Yeah.
Or we put some happy-looking stock footage under it.
One risk.
Sorry, I just see
there is one risk about investing, though I think it's going to be secure. But if you do take a bit too much of it, you might see down the line that actually the whole of humanity becomes ruled by a giant human worm hybrid god emperor for 3,000 years.
I mean,
that's just the sort of thing that happens every now and then.
Yeah.
You know.
So someone who looks a bit like Henry Zabrowski.
There you go. Then.
Imagine.
We've got a couple more comments. Dan says the poor always pay the costs. Yep. Going to rake it in on that one.
Yeah,
apparently typical Dan, me exploiting the poor.
That's what he does.
For Pumat's soul, more materials to conjure up more simulacrum to Pumat's to expand the business. So
yeah, it's kind of the ultimate franchise model, isn't it?
Yeah, so maybe just go past Pumat 3, basically. And then Jack says, plus he had to build it all himself. Adam says, surprised no one is investing in the Solar Sailor, most happening club car in the universe. I mean, we're already invested in that, and I'm not being funny. It's not going well.
We are.
No, it's not.
I'm pretty sure we're balls deep in the Solar Sailor.
We are.
Yeah.
The pandemic's really put a dampener on that.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
to be fair,
the pandemic and J.J. Abrams removing any homosexual references from Star Wars has really put a crimp on the Solar Sailor's bar tabs.
Solar Sailor, yeah.
I mean, most of our money, even when we were turning a profit, was going back into cleaning the place, and that was just.
Yeah, shouldn't have installed that holodeck.
Of,
just asking for trouble.
In the original cut of The Rise of Skywalker, but we insulted it too much. So yeah, Solar Sailor's now out. Some from other people then. Nicola has said Bubblegum Shrimp, essentially.
Hey.
Yeah,
Tons of
absolutely.
profit, makes him a ton of money in that film. Wonka chocolate, considering how much people are eating in lockdown. Very true as well.
Yeah, but it does feel like there's, it's only a matter of time, isn't it, before some investigation turns up something about the Wonka company.
Well, I think it's important to say he's probably not a paedophile. That's all right. Willy Wonka's not a paedophile.
Yeah, but you shouldn't when you get around to the point of putting that on your business cards, it just really raises more questions than it answers.
I think we've been through this before, haven't we? Like, loudly declaring to people that you're not a rapist is probably going to make them think you're a rapist. Like,
probably.
So, hi, this is my mate Dan. He's not a rapist. Don't worry about it. Like,
There is
Hi, I don't do weird stuff to kids.
Yeah,
come in.
There you go. Yeah. Come on in. Yeah. Try the bubblegum.
I might just Like knots, actually.
It's
Get in my elevator.
it's Oompa Loompa exploitation. It's slavery.
Oompa Loompa.
Oompa Loompa.
Oompa Loompa is almost a better
The
name
Jungle
for them.
Wumba.
It's-
Where does Oompa
Oompa Loompa.
Duncan
Oompa Loompa is like the knockoff version, surely.
Yeah.
Like the GoBots version of it.
Oompa Loompa exploitation? That's slavery.
Also,
Oprah Winfrey. What?
Stark Industries, but I don't think they need the money. True. But it's a good time to invest when they move from weaponry to renewable energy sources.
Yeah, I mean, you really wanted to you wanted to be the guy that lent Howard Stark like $1,000 to get started, and then 50 years later you own half the world.
Yep, true. Like that fellow who painted the mural at Facebook.
Yeah,
And Paddy's Pub, she also said as well.
yeah. Not sure that's so much of a surefire long-term investment success.
No, but you probably get some free drinks, probably.
There would always be something going on, like
Yeah.
there'd be some scheme.
Yeah, there's always a
What's-
scheme. There's always shenanigans going on.
What's the action? What's the action?
Shenanigans.
I would want to invest in PIM Technologies because I think it would have been easier to get in at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Pimtech's not a bad way to go, I think.
I mean, we could also give honourable mentions to things like Umbrella Corp, Cyberdyne
Yep.
Systems, the sort of weapons contractors and things like that
Yeah.
unleash awful things.
I think Umbrella Corps has a really exciting and novel take on R&D.
Yep.
Another one who follows dubious ethics committees.
Yeah.
Anna, she says the Men in Black or Monsters Incorporated. Like
Oh,
doing-
that's good, yeah.
yeah, good for good business.
Yeah, could be. I mean, the fact that it's on a separate plane of existence could make just some of the transactional agreements a bit tricky, but I'm sure there's a way
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She also says the
That's what corporate
baker.
lawyers are for.
Also says the baker in Utherdon in Critical Role as well that supplies the cupcakes to Jester.
Yeah.
Of course, I know the name of that. It's the Softer Stone Forge. So yeah, there's that as well. I think there's some others as well. Yeah, have delivery service to hags would be the problem there because you don't want to get involved with that too much. Jack says InGen, they managed to have 4 separate instances of dinosaurs.
Yeah, that is a company that bounces back. Not many organisations, like, you know, if Thorpe Park had hundreds of people devoured and yet was still a bustling bank holiday weekend destination.
Yeah.
That they've got some impressive spin in their marketing department, I think.
Yeah, definitely. 4 separate instances of dinosaurs eating people and still able to run a successful dinosaur park for a small time. Jamie says Hammer Industries as well, like make a lot of money. Like I think if you're getting involved in Marvel, it's Hammer, it's Pym, it's Stark. I think that's where you go. You're putting your money, right?
Is it Hammer Tech from the films, or is it Hammer Tech from like the actual like comic books where he's actually a good CEO, if you like,
It's
rather
not
than
bad. Yeah.
rather than the one in the film who's incompetent?
Oh, I love Adam's response to InGen. InGen are basically our government. They're trying their best.
Yeah, if only they were.
David says Bummo, the company that appears in Charlie Brooker's Scream Wipe. He explains subconscious advertising and it flashed up for a frame by Bummo. So I like that one as well. Have I missed anything? Anyone in the chat that's watching, have I missed any? I'm trying to keep
Soylent Corporation. I mean,
Corporation's a good one.
Mumcore.
Skynet. Dan's recommended Skynet.
There's a definite like limit on. You'd need to sort of cash out on your investments before 1997, really, wouldn't you? If you were
Yeah.
big into Skynet.
You'd hope someone might mention it. Would be what I'd say.
in the panic, they tried to pull the plug.
But Cyberdyne were bought out by Skynet.
Cyberdyne, yeah, there you go.
So it's Cyberdyne
Well,
Systems.
Skynet's the tool, isn't it? Cyberdyne Systems are the people who make Skynet.
Yeah, so just
Yeah.
like cash out when you know before it gets a bit. Ugh.
A little bit. Oh.
Well, it gets taken over by the US military, doesn't it? Once Cyberdyne's offices get blown up, they sort of fold it into special research.
And once they realise that the timeline of that universe is so irreversibly fucked that they can just do whatever they want whenever they want.
Yeah.
Black Mesa.
Yeah. Black Mesa.
Just
And
naming
also-
companies now.
Noun and Gremlin. Aperture Science as well.
Oh, Aperture Science is a good one, yeah. When life gives you lemons, you throw the lemons back.
Yeah, cool. And I don't think I've missed anything. I think that's it.
Hooray.
One last one. Another Douglas Adams. Dirk Gently's holistic detective agency. He doesn't need a lot, but he solves the most important crimes that you didn't even know needed solving.
Mm-hmm.
The portal gun, as mentioned by Jack, would be quite handy from Aperture Science. Like, that is where the money is, isn't it, really?
I mean, that would be a
portal
very
gun.
cool thing to have, wouldn't it? A portal gun.
But I mean, you've got to think about its application as a shower curtain. I mean, that's really where the money is, you know. So
And also, supercomputer powered by a potato is pretty handy as well.
yeah, love that. A personality core that, like, literally the minimum voltage requirement is a potato battery.
I've got something to ask you about Aperture Science, but that'll be after the pod, and it might come up on our Discord. So,
Oh, kick ass!
Yeah.
Ooh, I've got a unique one. That seems to be fictional. The UK High Street.
Oh, that's depressing.
And we thought satire was just something that happened to other people.
Sadly not.
Sorry.
Anyway, shall we wrap this up?
Why not?
Let's wrap this up in a pretty bow. Thank you very much to.
One more. Wayne Enterprise, brought up by Jack. How did we not mention Wayne Enterprise?
Congrats. Now let's wrap
They've
it up.
got all the money already. They
wrap it
don't
up.
need any more.
Excellent. The R&D division is burning through money. The big thanks goes out to everyone who's watching us on the YouTube stream. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Wave, everyone. Wave. It's the very least we can do. Wave, thumbs up. Thank you very much for watching us. If you're listening to us on the podcast as well, if you're listening to the audio version, thank you very much for listening. Don't forget you can hit us up on all of our social media feeds on Instagram, Twitter, or indeed Facebook using the handle @TMTOOH. If you want us to talk about stuff, if you've got any suggestions, if you want to tell us about your favourite corporations from fictional video games, TV, film, whatever, please do hit us up. All that's left to say is goodbye to the Too Much Time on Our Hands awesome foursome. We're going to say goodbye to Dan.
Don't forget to follow us on
Don't
Discord.
worry, I was
as
going
well.
to say, damn it, yes. Don't forget to follow us on Discord. If you go to Instagram, the link is in our bio.
And on Twitter as well. And
on
if you know, you probably know who I am on any of those, just say, hey Dan, I'd like the link to Discord. Also, sorry, there is something else as well. World Cup TV series, we are into the quarterfinals. It starts Friday, and then next week's episode will be a deep dive into the remaining 4 theme tunes. I'm going to do some research on all 4 of those theme tunes, and I'm going to bring some hardcore knowledge on each 4 of those theme tunes for next week. That's our next episode.
I, for one,
Isn't it
cannot
quarterfinals?
wait.
Doesn't that mean there's 8?
Yeah, there's 8 at the moment, but then when we get through that, it'll be the semis.
There's
Oh,
8.
right.
There's 8 left, but there's 4 matches.
All right. So
Yeah,
we're
so
doing
for
deeper
next
on the
week's pod,
semis.
yeah, because I
Going
can't
deep
bother.
with a semi.
Cool.
Just blow straight past that.
Semis all round. So I'm going to say goodbye to Dan.
Bye.
You've got to flex like that every time from now on. Goodbye to Duncan.
Bye.
Goodbye to Russ.
Laters, babes.
It's goodbye from me, Tom. And on that note, let's cue the music.